Hey guys, a number of years ago, my marriage almost ended in a divorce. And I remember sitting with my realtor and just laying out the plans to sell off my house. And I was sitting in a condo at the time that I was looking to purchase to move into. And I remember sitting there asking myself, how did this happen to me? And I felt like, such a failure. And I didn't see, things quite clearly at the time. I asked myself, how did I get myself in this position? Did I see, these things coming? And in this video, I want to talk about why divorce after 50 can make you question everything about it, and how you can look back at your marriage with honesty and through a different lens, and look at it as a positive and not as a big mistake. Divorce after 50 is not just the end of a relationship, but it's the end of an identity that you held for years. And luckily for myself and my wife, we managed to work things out, and we now have a very strong marriage. But, I know friends that had marriages that ended and they divorced when they're close to 50 or over 50. And a lot of my friends, they basically walked out of the marriage with the clothes on their back and a duffel bag. And, when I hear their stories, it hits really hard. And I hear other people's stories as well, because you start to question yourself. You start to question the time you spent in the marriage. You think about all the plans that you and your wife, your spouse, had for the future. And also, you think about the role that you had in your family, because that's a big part of your identity. Maybe you were the peacemaker. Maybe you were the one that was a strong person in the family. So all those things you start to ask yourself, and you also look at other things as well. I mean, like, will I meet somebody after I leave this marriage? Will I end up alone for the rest of my life? Because it gets harder to meet someone and date after the age of 50. So it's not like, we're back to our, 20-year-old self when we seem to meet people all the time. And especially when, when you're in your 50s, a lot of us are set in our ways. We like things done a certain way. And when we meet someone new, we're not willing to change to accommodate that person. And so some of you might even be asking, did I miss any warning signs? Could I have ended the relationship sooner, instead of wasting so many years in the marriage? And I think that's a question that a lot of us ask is, did I waste my time? Did I waste my life when I was married? And I think one of the hardest questions after divorce is that question, because you begin to wonder, did I waste, 10, 20, 30 years? I mean, what was it all for? And of course, there's the financial cost of a divorce as well, because it's, you're both going to lose, and usually a lot of us lose everything we work for, that we spent time building, all our assets. And so that fear of starting over again is very real, from scratch. And, marriage really shapes a lot of your identity. You could have been were you the provider in the family? Were you the peacemaker? Were you the responsible one? And after a divorce, this changes everything. And you start to ask yourself, what role do you have now? And I think many of us end up with regret or blaming ourselves for the failure of the marriage. Maybe we ask ourselves, could we have tried harder? Maybe we ask ourselves, maybe I chose the wrong person to marry. But I think, the marriage, ending the marriage, does not mean that all those years were for naught. And I think that's the good news. I think the thing that we can learn is that, we once shared a love and common bond with one another, and that's why we got married in the first place. And there's always good moments as well, right? I mean, there's the Christmas celebrations, maybe, starting a family, um, the vacations that you took, all these things. And, not all the experiences have to be all good, and they don't always have to be all bad. So I think we can look at the positive of getting divorced after 50, and that's the fact that you can reclaim a part of your life that you put aside while you're married. And I think getting a divorce after 50 can really shed light on how much of your life that you put on hold while you're married. I mean, it could be your interests, could be your work, your career, your friendships, maybe your health, um, and maybe all your dreams, right? So you cannot change, what took place in the past, but you can grieve the years that you lost, and you can admit what was wrong, but you can also learn and grow from these lessons. And you might not get back your old life, but you can choose a different path now and a different journey. And you could also start to become true to yourself and be the person you always wanted to be. So I'm curious to hear from all of you. And if you went through a divorce after 50, what question haunted you the most? Was it something like, did I waste my life? Did I ignore the signs that I could have ended marriage earlier? Or could it be, who am I now? Feel free to comment below. I try to read every comment and answer them back. And if you liked the content on this channel and this video resonated with you, please feel free to like, share, or subscribe. And feel free to check out my next video. Okay, take care, and I'll see you soon.